Good morning, everyone. For SQL in Data Analysis webinar today, my name is Gaurav Rajput, and we'll be walking through. This is the agenda for today. So, what we'll do is we'll try to understand what data analysis is and where does this SQL fit in the overall context of data analysis, and then we would see what job roles would need SQL, right? And then I would give a live demo on library management system, a data set that I've chosen for demoing how would it look like for a problem statement to have a SQL. So we'll just try to write a few SQL statements on that data set, and then I would give you some practice references where you could do it yourself. You can look at the data set and try to resolve the problems, right? And then finally we'll wait for some questions if you have, right? So that's the agenda for today. So yes, so let's try to understand what data analysis is, right? So data analysis, if I have to define it, I would say it's cleaning, analyzing, interpreting, and visualizing the data, right? So the steps, so step one would be to define the problem, define the problem statement, the question, what are we trying to address, right? For example, when I walk through the live demo, I would be using library management system. So that's my problem domain, right? So I'll ask, what am I trying to do? So I'll say, okay, I'm trying to build an analysis over a library management system, right? So what are the various entities involved in it? So it's I would try to capture data about the library, the members of the library, the books in the library, the details about the books issuance, right? So all these things that I want to capture. So that's the defining the problem statement in the real world, right? Then the second step would be to collect the data, right? So collecting the data, it would not be one source, right? It could be multiple sources. You could have data coming in from Excel, you could have data coming in from log files, you could have data coming in from multiple different types of database, NoSQL databases or relational databases, or even if we could have data coming in from the text files, right? So it could be multiple sources of data. So we have to make sure that we gather all that data from multiple sources and bring it into one, right? So when we bring it into one, we have to clean the data. Why is it required? So let's say I have a member who was enrolled. One source says that he was enrolled into my library management system on 1st of January 2021, and the other source says no, it was 2nd of February to 2021, right? So I have to have consensus over what is the right data, right? So either I would have to find the third source where I could verify, okay, what is it, 1st January or is it 2nd February, right? And then come up with a consensus and say, okay, this is what it is. So it is either 1st January or 2nd February. So I'll have to clean the data. It could so happen that the format in which the data is received is different, right? So I would have to come to consensus, okay, what format do I want for my reporting, for my analyzing, right? So that, and cleaning the data is just looking at the right data, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's in the right data format, and xyz information, right? So that's the third step. The fourth step is analyzing the data. So that is where a SQL comes into picture, right? So once we ask, once we have clean data with us, we start asking questions to the data. Okay, how database beats non-relational database, right? The concept remains the same. So analyzing the data, you use SQL to analyze the data, right? And the fifth step is visualizing data. So once you analyze data, not everybody would like to see your data in a table format, in the output of a select statement, output of an update, right? People would want to see it in some kind of pie charts. People would want to see it some kind of graphs, right? So that visualization is the next step in your data visualization process, right? So that's the end step. That's the consumer that you have. So that consumer will use your uh, visualized data, because you cannot go to the CEO and say, okay, this is my select statement, see, look, the output looks like that. He will say, what will I do with that data, right? He will say, help me visualize the data so that I can take business decisions. So that's the last step in data analysis. So where are we will look at fourth step, right? That's the focus of this webinar. So what job roles that you would see that you primarily use SQL, right? So in the world of data science, you would have heard terms like data scientists, data engineers, and data analysts, right? So there is a mere very thin line between all these roles, but yes, the majority being what are data scientists, they are actually statisticians. They are one who have knowledge about statistics. They will be primarily using, they also use SQL, they will be using Python, R, and XYZ. So basically the backbone is mathematics. They have some programming knowledge, and they are the ones who will who will actually do kind of modeling techniques on your data. But then they would need that data, right? So how will you get that data? So you will get, of course, you'll get that data from various sources, right? So data engineers are one who will actually look at the data pipeline, who will actually try to maintain that, okay, the data is being brought at some repository. So be it from Excel, be it from XYZ components, right? They'll write programming languages so that they can make sure that the data flows from the source to a repository where data analyst can work upon. So where that data analyst comes into picture, so you'll have the data ready. And what will data analysts do? They will use Excel. So Excel is also a very powerful tool in data analysis. So they will use Excel, they'll use Tableau. Tableau is a visualization tool. They'll use SQL for data analysis. So if I have to break this down in a layman's term, I would say data engineers are one who actually make sure that the data is available for the data analyst. Data analyst is the one who will understand the requirements and analyze the data using SQL, Excel, and present it in some visualization format, maybe Tableau. And data scientists would then use that data to predict, to do machine learning. So you would see roles at times blur, but then most of the times data scientists are mathematicians. They have statistical knowledge. Data analysts are the one who understands the data, who would use SQL effectively, use Excel effectively. And data engineers are the one who will build the pipeline. So they should know programming, they should know how to get the data and keep the pipeline healthy so that the data flow does not stop. So these are the various roles that you would find, right? So let's come to the crux of this agenda, right? I will quickly walk you through what is a, so how would you do it, right? So before that, the very first thing is that, right, so you can see my screen, right?
Yes, Gaurav.
The Excel is with, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it is visible.
Let me, okay, so let's try to understand this data set. So always remember, whenever you do SQL analysis, the very first step is understanding your data, right? So if you don't understand the data, how will you write? So like for in programming, right? If you don't understand your problem statement, how will you write your for loop on? What will you write on if statements on, right? Similarly, here you have to understand that. That's the very important thing in data analysis. No matter if you forget the syntax, that's not an issue, but if you don't understand your data, you will not know where to write a where clause, where to write a select, where to write your from clause, right? So understanding the data is important. So if you see here, the major focus, so this is the diagram that I have. So let me just okay, so if you see the I'm trying to address a library management system problem, right? So what are the things that I would like to see in my library management system, right? So uh, I want to address what are the members in my library management system, right? So I would need an entity that would capture the data regarding the members, right? Be it anything. So now member ID, member name, city, date register, date expire, membership status. So when you look at the data, you'll understand what it is. But end of the day, I have some member details that are stored in this LMS underscore members. If I talk about relational world, it's a table. If I talk about non-relational world, it's a collection, right? But end of the day, you have some entity that is saving data about members, right? Similarly, I have book details, which actually stores data about all the books that I have in my library management system, right? So what could be the details? It could be book code, book title, the category, XYZ information. But end of the day, this entity would store book details information. Similarly, a book would be supplied by somebody, right? So LMS supplier details would be another entity that would save the that would save supplier information. So it would be have supplier name, address, contact, and email, right? Then so you will be transacting in your library management system, right? A member would issue a book, right? So you want to capture information about when was it issued, when is it supposed to be returned, right? Am I supposed to find it after it is returned? So all this information is stored under LMS book issue table or collection or entity, right? And then find information. So we'll just quickly look at the data to understand how it is, right? So these are the various things that I want to capture about the members. So these are the examples. So let's read one row. So I would say a member ID. So this is a primary key. So what's a primary key? It's a key that identifies the entire row in your table, right? So that's a primary key in layman's language, right? So member ID is a primary key here. And then what I'm trying to say, I'm saying Akshay, who belongs to Chennai, has registered me on 12th of June 2018. His expiry, his membership expiry would end on 26th of October 2020, and his status is temporary. Now he's not a permanent member of my library. So similarly, these are multiple things that I have about all the members, right? Let's see supplier details. So again, a supplier ID is a primary key. You have a supplier name, the address of the supplier, the contact information, and his email ID, right? Similarly, book details. So I have book code, the book title, which book it is, what category it is, who is the author of that book, publication, published date, book edition, and XYZ information. So lots of information. So if you see here, I have supplier ID, right? So what's that? So it says that, okay, this book is being supplied by a given supplier ID, right? And if I have to relate it, I will say SO1. Who is SO1? So SO1 is Singapore Shopee. So this book is being supplied by Singapore Shopee. That is how I understand the data, right? So when I write SQL, I should understand, okay, the link between your book details and your suppliers is the supplier ID column, right? So that's the link that I walked through. If I want to have information about the book as well as the supplier information, right? So that's the supplier. Similarly, book issue. So book issue, you have some primary key here, then the member, the book ID that was issued, right? So LM001 was issued B001 on this date. He's supposed to return on this date. He actually returned on this date, and the fine, right? So I hope the data is clear, right? So you have your members at one end, book details at the other end, suppliers, and the link that joins your members to book details is your book issue, which says which member has issued which book, when, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the data with us. So let's so what is data analysis? So let's look at data analysis, right? So I'm using Oracle as a tool to demonstrate this, but it's not that you would basically use Oracle. You could use any of uh, any of the tools, right? Like I said, you could use NumPy, Pandas. End of the day, it's SQL. So I've tried to keep it simple and just run SQL and show you how will I analyze the data, right? So I'm just running the setup. This setup is basically, I'm just trying to load this Excel data into the database, right? So behind the scenes, you have Oracle database here. It could be any database, but I've just chosen Oracle because I could show it online. So I'm just running that SQL, which is the data set, right? So while this loads, any questions on the data set? Anybody who did not, you want me to just go through again this data set? Because when we write queries, we need this data set, and that's important. Okay, so I believe there are no questions here. So let's, so the data has been loaded. So I have a few tables that are loaded here, right? Now I have already prepared some sample questions for us. So let's try to address that. So before that, let's see if I have the data in it, right? So I said members, right? So if I run members, so here I have the same data set, right? LM001, Akshay, Chennai, and XYZ. So I have all this information here, right? So now let's say I want to uh, ask a very simple question. So this is what we are doing on data analysis. Now we are at the step where we said that we are at step 3. We have solved the step, we have cleaned the data. So I'm presuming that we are at step 4 now, where I'm asking questions so that it could be visualized further, right? So I'm asking questions to the data now. So I'm saying display name of the member, the city in which he resides, and date of expiry, and the duration of days in which he's a member of that uh, library management system, right? So if somebody asks you this question, right, you will have to write SQL for this. So before that, we'll have to understand where do we have this data, right? So I want the name of the member, the city, And so everything is related to member, right? So where do I have that data? So if I go to this, I say, oh great, I have all that member information here. Let's see if I can get the data. So I have the name of the member. Yes, I have the name of the member. The city in which he resides, it's here. Great. Date of expiry, it's here. And days in which he's a member as of today. So if you see, I don't have this duration in days directly in this particular data set, but yes, I can derive duration in days by subtracting your current date, right? Your current date with the date of expiry, right? I can do that, correct? So I can derive this. So the only source that I need is this, right? So that's the only table that I need to do. So for the very first thing that I would do is I just need this source, right? And so member name would come from the member name column of the table, city, date expire, date register. So everything is coming directly from the tables, right? But what is not coming in is the duration. I have to calculate that, right? Similarly, in programming, we used to do some calculations on the fly, right? Similarly, here I'm doing calculations on the fly. So I'm using your date register column in the table, and I'm subtracting it from the current date, and I'm just rounding it off. So round is a function that just rounds off to 2 digits. So like if I have, let's say I have 100.03456 something, right? When I do a round, it will just round off. So because it's 4 mathematical, below 5, it will just round off to 100.03. So that's the function that I've used here. So if I run this, so that does that answer my question? Yes. So I needed the name of the member. So I have the name of the member. I have the city in which he resides, the expiry date, right? And the duration index. So this was something that was not present in the table, but we derived it on the fly, right? So that's the very simple, plain. First, this you have to understand the source. So and then if you have identified the source, the second step, I needed all the members, right? I don't need a filter here. So for filter we use where clauses, right? But I don't need a filter here. I can get rid of it, and simply I can just display what is required, right? So this is just output of a report. Now this report can be fed to some analyst, some visualization tool. It could be Tableau, it could be Power BI, right? And there we can just draw a pie chart. Like for example, here, if you see, right, uh, when you click on the pre-webinar survey and the out responses, right, it automatically showed you some pie chart, it showed you some graphics tool, right? So that's nothing but visualization. So you can just feed this data and get visualization out of it, right? Now let's say I need name of the book, year in which it was published, the publication name, the category, and the type of language for which it was issued. So now that's a lot of information, but let me understand where can I get this information from, right? So I need name of the book. So that's present. So let me just copy this into an Excel and see if I have it in my LMS book details. So I need the name of the books. So that's present in, oh, so I need the name of the book, right? So name of the book is present here in the book title column. I need year in which it was published. So the publication date, I can derive year from it, right? I don't have year directly in my output, but I can derive my publication. Okay, publication date. Oh, I don't need public. Okay, year in which it was published, I can get it from here. Publication name, I have it handy. Category, I have it handy. Type of language. So now if it's a Java, I should say it's object oriented language. If it's C, I should say procedural. So that information is not there, but I can derive it from the category column, right? So I need not go to any other source. And then for book that were published on or after year 2005. So published date is already there. I need to filter it somehow to say that the publication date should be greater than 2005 and XYZ information, right? So the source is just one LMS book details, right? So I need not go to any other place. So my source of information is just one table here, right? Then I need to filter. I need to filter that it was after. So if you see, two chars are just functions that will take the date, and I say y. So it will just extract the year out of the date that is present in the database in the published date column. So I'm saying published after year 2005, so greater and equal to, and not published by Tata McGraw Hill publication. So that publication column, I'm just trimming it. So trim normal functions, right, which will just trim your data sets, will remove leading and spare white spaces, right? So leading and the next one. So after and before that white spaces, right? I am saying not equal to Tata McGraw Hill, right? And so this is the where clause. So I needed a filter on the source. So that's why I used a where clause. And then I just want the year of publication. I don't have it, but I have a publication clause. So I extracted the year out of it. Publication is straightforward, category is straightforward. Now here I'm using an if statement. Decode is nothing but n. So you will have a decode statement in maybe in Oracle, maybe in MySQL, something else in your other languages. But end of the day, I'm just trying to do an if. I'm saying if category is Java, just display it as object-oriented language. If it's C, just display it as procedural driven. And if it's none of the above, nor Java, nor C, else statement not defined, right? So if I just run this, so don't worry about the syntax. I'm just trying to explain that how to approach the problem. I see what is the source. So that's the first step. Then I see, do I need a filter on something? Then if that yes, then I'm using a where clause. And then I'm trying to do a project operation, right? I'm trying to say, what do I need? And if it's not present directly, how do I get that? So that's how I derive it. So if I look at the output, I would say that the name of the book is this, year of publication. So if you see, I had published date and extracted only the year out of it, right? Then you have the name of the column, the category, and if you see, I did not have this type of language, but I derived it from your category column. I said if it's Java, just print object-oriented language, output object-oriented language. If it's C, output procedural language, so on and so forth, right? So these are just simple select statements that we looked at. Now let's look at something a bit complicated, right? So let's say I want an output something like this, right? So I have all the members with me, right? So if you see, I have all the members with me. They either are temporary or are permanent, right? What do I need? I need a count which says that temporary, some 12 people or 19 people, permanent, right, some 20 people. So I need this output as a report so that I can feed it to my data visualization, and maybe a bar chart will come up and say temporary at the base, and you'll have some bar chart denoting, okay, this is 19, and permanent a higher bar, right? So lower bar and higher bar, something of that sort. So if I want this information, I first need this information, right, from the raw data set. So how do I get that? How do I do it in SQL, right? So to do that in SQL, you have something called as group by clauses, right? What do group by do? It basically creates two buckets, right? So you will have your one bucket as temp. So it will just take that column what you have specified in the group by and will try to create two buckets out of it, right? So it will say temporary and permanent, two buckets, and then you will use some aggregate functions. So what are aggregate functions? It basically works on your buckets that have formed. So if I just try to visualize this problem, I would say what will so if I write something like uh, group by membership status, right? Membership status. If I write something like this, what will your database engine do? What will do is first do something like this. So I'm just trying to visualize the problem. So it will first do a filter on how many distinct values are there. So it will say, okay, two buckets, permanent and temporary. So it will say, great, two buckets. So it will create temporary buckets, temporary and, okay, I'll just copy that. I don't want to write it. So temporary and permanent. So it will, okay, these are the two distinct values. Now what? Now it will say, okay, permanent. So whatever are the entire rows in the permanent thing, it will just place it as permanent. So all these rows are permanent and everything would be named as permanent, right? And then it will just say how many are temporary. So these are the temporary ones. It will just place it along the temporary bucket, right? So this is the second step that group by will do. Then finally, when you say an aggregate function, let's say count, it will just count. So it will say, so it will just do a count. So count is 13. So you'll get output as 13 when you write a count. Similarly, if I do something, it will do a count on the second bucket as well. And it will say count is 12. So that's how it will do. That's how you visualize the problem, right? But if you want to write the query, you will write something like this. So you will say the source is members, because I have all the information about whether the status of the member in members. So that's the source. Group by membership status. Internal, it will just do find the distinct values in that membership status column. Then you said do a count star. So it will just say, it will do a count and you will get output something like this, 12 and 13, right? That is what we did visually in Excel, right? So 12 and this was 13, right? So you got that same output. So that's how you do a group by. So when you want to do a data analysis and if you want to learn SQL, you'll have to look at, okay, what you'll have to look at is you will have to look at majorly these clauses. From clause, it identifies the source. Where clause, filter. So there are various variants here. You'll have to practice and then understand. But end of the day, whenever you use a where clause, you'll get the from clause output, right? Then you'll have, like we said, group by, right? Group by expressions. So group by will help you group the result set, right? So once you do a group by, you might want to filter on the group by. Like for example, here I want to say that I just want to display rows that are greater than that are greater or equal to 13. So I don't want temporary as an output, right? So to do that, you have something called as having clause. So I will say having, I would say whatever the count is, right? If it's greater than or equal to 13, only display it. So what will happen? So the output temporary will just go off, right? So if you do this, so you will get just getting permanent out of it, right? So a having clause is basically helping you to filter the result set received after the group by clause, right? Now let's say I say let's say I do it as 10, so I'll have both the rows, right? Correct, temporary and permanent. Now let's say I want to order the result set, right? So I'll use an order by clause. So I want to say that PQRST, right? So P comes first after T, but this is not the case here, right? So I want to do an ordering on the result. So I'll say order by, and if I do a membership status order by, so automatically by natural ordering, P will come first. So you'll have permanent and then temporary, right? So an order by clause is helping you to order the result set, right? And then finally the select clause helps you display the output. So like for example, here I'm saying count star. Had I not written total, it would have done just count star. So it would have just displayed count star, right? So writing a total, this is called alias for a column. It just gives a meaningful name to your output, so that when you give this output to anybody, right, he will understand, okay, membership status and the total is 13. Or maybe if you want to make it more elaborative, you'll say total members, right? And this is member status. Maybe if you want to make it more elaborative, right? So you will say something like this, right? So if somebody looks at this output, they'll know, okay, this is membership, and they may plot it on the bar chart, right? So that's how you do it. So basically these are the constructs that you would use in a select statement, right? Then so that's how you do a select and a group and an order by, right? I hope we are clear so far. Yes. One important point that I want to touch upon is joins, right? So let's quickly look at what joins are and try to see what joins are. Okay, so let's say, right? So let's say this is small data set. I have customer details here and allocated room to that customer in a travel agency firm, right? So Shanaya, whose customer ID is 1, is allocated. She has never been allocated a room because customer ID is not present here, right? So if I want to find out customer name and room in which room, maybe room ID, the room that the person was allocated, I want to do it, right? So how do I do it? So that's the question that I want to ask to the data set. So customer name, I'll get it from this particular table. Room ID, I'll get it from this particular table. So there are two tables, right? Two sources of data. So for that, I will have to use joins. So what are joins? Joins are nothing but it helps you combine two different data sets, right? It helps you combine two different data sets. So there should be some link between them, right? So if you see here, customer ID is a link between two data sets, right? So I will have to do a join. So how will this join look like? Let's try to visualize it, right? So this is what I need, correct? So this is what I need. So what will happen is customer ID column, if I just take it here so that we are better off. And let's me take customer ID here, right? So when I write something like this from customer details, so there are multiple types of joins. Maybe people would know what joins are, but I'll just go through them quickly. Okay, but end of the day, we are looking at inner joins here. So I'm saying allocated rooms, right? So if I do a join and then I have to specify what column am I joining on. So I'll say on this column equal on customer ID equals customer ID, right? So this is from the left thing and this is the right table, right? So if I write something like this, what how will it work? So what it will do is it will take this row, right, and try to join it here. It will look for equality checks. So there is there a one here? No. So for that you will just, so the output would look something like this. So let me just quickly, so the headers would be something like this, right? And there's no match, right? So there's no match, so it will just leave it blank. Now how about Deepak? So Deepak, so that output, it will try to match it here. Do I have a 2 year? Great, I have a 2 year. So it will just match it here. Then we also have a 2 year, right? So what will happen to this row, right? So what it will do is it will just replicate this output, right? Again, to show this details as well, right? So that is how a join would work, right? So once you understand this join, no matter how the syntax changes in different data sets, you would just live with the output, right? So that's how join once. So let's look at simple example here. I want the members and their city who have been issued a book, right? Let's forget they have been placed on. Let's forget about this now for now, right? So we just want name of the members and the city, right? So I will get name of the members from members table and city also from the members table, right? But who have been issued a book, so how will I get that insurance information? I would get it from book issue table, right? So that's the need for joins here, and I'm doing an inner join or an equi join here on whatever the column that is present in both the tables. And then we also don't need this, right? And so if I do something like this, I will just get name of the member and the city, because book issued, only when the book is issued you will have an entry of that member here, right? So just doing an inner join will help you solve that problem, that name of the members who have been issued a book. So that's something about the joins. So there is, so yeah, so that's something about the joins. We have already covered order by. There are a few string functions that I want you, so you might have seen this even in your programming experience, right? If I want to find a substring, you use a substr function in SQL, right? Like you do substr in Java or other languages, right? Similarly in string, so you have multiple string functions in Oracle or maybe in any database. It's not just Oracle. I'm just using Oracle. That's why I'm saying Oracle. But remember, any database you go to, you will find one or the other functions of this type. End of the day, when you do a data analysis, if you want to take away from this session, one is understand your data set, right? And then try to model the data in your brains. So that's the important thing. So Excel is excellent tool. Like for example, here I, when I wanted to do joins, this is how I try to visualize a problem. So until and unless you are very familiar with joins, try to visualize the problem in some form in Excel. I would prefer Excel, but you can visualize it on paper. But end of the day, you should know what am I expecting from the output, and then try to write a query, right? So that's the important thing. Now, so that's a PPT. Yep. So that's a live short demo, right? If you want to learn more about what SQL is all about. So these are just some free open source tools in the market available. Lead Code, Select Star SQL, SQL Bolt, SQL Fiddle. These are just browser based tools where they will have some data set that you can work upon. They'll ask you questions. You don't have to form your own questions. They'll ask you questions, and you will have to work upon that data set, right? So try to cover this. Any questions? So we are done. Any
Great.
questions?
Thank you, Gaurav. It was a great session, and so a brief end note before we would throw up for question answer. It was a great session which included both a little bit of theory to know about and then a quick hands-on in the time we have given to our speaker today. So this is just a demo how we also run our courses and classes in CDAC where we bring out trainers from different industries and try to mix theory and lab so that it could be very helpful to understand each topic. And it was a great presentation of the same by our today's speaker, Mr. Gaurav Rajput. Thank you, Gaurav. And now we are open to question answer. A quick question answer session would be great. Participants, you could throw your question answer or you could ask them by unmuting yourself. Yeah, Yelena has. Will you give us the PPT with these links? Sure, Yelena. I think if Gaurav, if we can share those references links on chat now, that would be great for the participants.
Any other question, guys?
Any other questions you could regarding today's talk was specially designed so that we had a query from different participants. They wanted the role of the important significance of SQL in RDBMS related to RDBMS and SQL as in general, and the growing trend of data analysis. That is why this talk was designed so that it could gather the curiosity of different participants. If you have any questions, you can throw in now. And can you send your presentation? It was interesting, but quick, okay. And due to time constraint, it was a little quick. But yeah, we will surely send the presentation. And I thank every one of you participants also to join in. Thank you, Shraddha. So
Thank you, guys.
tomorrow in day 4 of our webinar series, we would be hosting Mr. Akash Ahuja, founder and CEO of ITMTV Technologies, and he would be giving the talk on industries using AI to solve customer problems and related career opportunities. So that would be great. And okay, so we would see you tomorrow, same time, 10:45, using same link. Okay. Yeah, Gaurav, there is one thing which Kiran has put up that he is. I am a BTech 8th semester student, guidance for data science.
Guys, so anybody who want to venture into data science, there are multiple roles. So you would have to see where your interest lies, right? Like I said, data engineer being a programming kind of role where you maintain your pipelines, right? And data analysis being roles where you want to visualize the data, where you want to play with the data. So if you are very keen on playing with the data, you would prefer being a data analyst, right? So and if you, how do you want to build that career is bare bone is SQL. So no matter where you go, if you understand Excel and SQL, so Excel and SQL are the two tools that go hand in hand. So at times when you don't have data in your database, you would go to an Excel and show that Excel data quickly, right? So Excel and SQL are two bare bones. SQL is a must no matter where you go. If you go to a no SQL background, let's say MongoDB, you will have something called as an aggregate framework there. End of the day, you're writing SQL, right? If you go to Spark SQL, you will have your RDD and frames there, but end of the day, you're writing SQL there as well, right?
Yeah.
If you go to Java Streams, it again, Java Streams, I would not say it directly replicates your SQL, but end of the day, you will have your map, reduce programming, your dot functions. End of the day, you're thinking in terms of filtering, right? So
Okay.
if you learn SQL, don't worry about the syntax. Try to visualize that problem. Try to say, okay, if I'm using a where clause, what is happening to my data set? So if that understanding is clear, you can just go and apply your understanding by saying, okay, if I do a filter in Java streams, how will it work? So try to visualize the data first, and then try to when you say, okay, why am I using this? I'm not just because of the syntax, but try to see what that effect has on your data. So that's the second step. So that will, and eventually, yes, of course, practice will help you in the longer run. But SQL is bare bone. Even if you're not doing data science, even if you're in any programming language, right? Even if you're writing small Java codes, there again you will have to write prepared statements. So SQL is just like C. If you understand C, you'll do everything. You have to write SQL no matter what database you choose.
Participants, we would see you tomorrow, same time, 10:45 a.m. using the same link. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
again,
Bye
Gaurav.
bye.
Thank you all.